In this video, we're going to look at all of the different tools in Affinity's Pixel Studio. So you can see at the top, I'm already inside the Pixel Studio, and we're going to go from the top to the bottom, starting with the Move tool. Now we've covered this in another video, but essentially this is great for selecting, moving. We can resize, we can hold Shift to distort, and then we can rotate. All right, sorry about that. Let's put you back there. And this is one of those tools that you're going to use an awful lot. Now we also have the perspective tool, and I haven't used this a ton, but what we can do is use this to distort a shape and adjust the perspective. And you can see it adds this as a live filter over on the right. And now we're going to add a mesh warp. Now, as we go through these different tools, you'll see that some of them will cause the layer to be rasterized. So it starts off as an image layer, but to then apply the effects from the tool, the layer has to be rasterized. And if I go ahead and grab this, I think, yeah, I can just freely warp and distort this in very weird and wonderful ways. So this does give you a little bit more control rather than just a straight perspective warp. So no idea what I've done there. Let's definitely undo that. Now, when it comes to the next one, the deform tool, I'm honestly not sure what this does and I haven't been able to get this to work. So we're just going to skip past that one. But if anyone does know what that tool is used for and how to get it working, please do let me and everyone else know down in the comments. Right, next up, we have the crop tool. Now, if you're using artboards, this will be grayed out. And quite simply, this enables you to crop your canvas. So we can do it from one side or hold Command or Control to do it from the center. And if we hold down Shift as well, we can scale it proportionally. And we've also got a nice little drop down here, which is pretty handy. We can split it into a thirds grid like so, or we can even use the golden spiral. So if that is important to your work, you can use the golden spiral when adjusting the crop. Right, next we have the selection tools. So if we click and hold, we've got the object selection tool. And if we go through here, you can see that it selects different things, different objects, and I can click and I then get a selection. And there we go, that's not too bad. And if we go back over here, next one down, we have the selection brush tool. So if we deselect the selection with Command or Control D, this is very similar to Photoshop's quick selection tool. We can just brush through to add to the selection, or we can hold down Alter Option, and this will remove from the selection. And then we can go and add a layer mask or whatever we like. And then lastly, we have the good old Flood Select tool, also known as the Magic Wand tool in Photoshop. And this selects based on color. So we could sample the sky or the skin tones. I honestly don't use this tool much these days. I use the other ones more, but it is there if you need it. Right, next up, we have the rectangular marquee tool. Now this one and the elliptical marquee tool are very similar. We can use this to select an area, and we can hold Shift and keep using it to add to that selection. Or we can hold down Alter Option. You can see the icon changes to a minus, and we can subtract from the selection. And if we then go and do it with the elliptical marquee tool, you can see we can basically introduce ellipses or circles. And then these ones down here, we have the column and the row marquee tool. What these do is they enable you to click and select a 1 pixel column or row. And you can move around the position, or you can actually change the width in the options bar at the top if you want to have a value greater than a single pixel. And then lastly, we have the freehand selection tool. And with this, we can just quite literally draw a freehand selection. It kind of says what it does. And we can also hold down Command or Control, I think it is. And yep, there we go. We can actually do a click, 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 straight line, dot to dot selection. So if you want straight lines in your selection, that is the way to do it. Right, next up, we have the fill tool. Now, I think if I click and drag on this, it's added something to the layer. I wasn't expecting that. What we can do for this one, though, is actually go and add a new fill layer. So you can find this under the pixel menu. And this is a bit different to how Photoshop works and honestly did confuse me at first. So now we have a new fill layer. What we can do is we can choose the type of solid. And then you can go and pick a color. Or what you can do is choose linear. And then you can draw a gradient. Why is it not drawing? Let's turn these off. It's probably because the color is white. So let's just click on that. And then we can open up the color picker from the bottom of the toolbar. Or if you've got this docked on the right-hand side with your panels, you can kind of go and do it there. Oh, have we found a bug? I think we found a bug. Right, I figured it out. There was a bug or something attached to that document. So when I created a new document, everything works fine now. So I just created a new document and then copy and pasted the layer from that one into this one. So how this layer traditionally works is we can just quite literally pick a solid color, or we can pick a gradient and just drag this around. And then we can go and change the color from up here. So let's go and change this to like a nice, sexy yellow. Oh, look at that. It's not even yellow, but it doesn't matter. And then we can just select the fill layer at any time. And then we can adjust the gradient or whatever fill type that we've specified here. Right, now that we've got that one done, what's next? We have the flood fill tool. Now this works very similar to your paint bucket tool in Photoshop. So if we go and add a new pixel layer, what we could do now is go and pick a color from the color picker. Let's just go for like a gray. It's a bit dull, but never mind. There we go. And we can just fill that color in. So it's super, super simple. Oh yeah, let's bring our images back. There we go. Haha. Right, next up, we have the paintbrush tool. And this is one of my favorite tools and one that I use most often. So what we can do is select this. We've got lots of different options at the top. So you can see here we have the opacity, we have the flow, we have the hardness and many other settings. And then over here on the right-hand side, we have the brushes panel. Lots of brushes here. Many of these are defaults. As you can see, I've installed some of the brushes that I would typically use in Photoshop and they come across just fine, which is a relief. So yeah, if you have any .abr brush files, they will work with Affinity. But let's go back to basic. Down here, we've got some defaults. We've got the hard brush. And then at the very bottom, we've got the nice soft brushes. So let's go and grab, I think maybe this one here. And if we start brushing in, yeah, it creates a new pixel layer for us, which is handy. So you will need to brush on a pixel layer. So we can't brush directly on an image layer unless we were to go and right click it and then go to rasterize. And you'll see some of the tools that we're going to use in a minute, it will automatically rasterize the image layer just to be able to use that tool. So yeah, the brush tool is great. We can pick a color and then just brush a bunch of scribbles in. There you go. Well done, Dan. You're an artist. Next one down, we have the paint mixer brush. Now, I'm no artist, but this tool is a lot of fun. And if you do understand painting and that sort of stuff, honestly, I think you're going to have a ton of fun with this. So what we can do is, can we do this on an image layer? Yes, we can, but you can see it's rasterized it. So let's undo that because that was horrific. We'll go back to brushes. And then we have acrylics, we have gouaches, inks, markers, loads of stuff. So let's pick acrylics. We'll go and choose an acrylic brush. And then we can use this to quite literally mix and blend. Now, if you're skilled, you can make this look good. Obviously, I'm ruining this image completely. Sorry, love. But yeah, you can control settings like strength and all sorts of other stuff up here. And it quite literally is mixing the area where your brush is. So it's mixing and blending those pixels with these different brush styles. So in the hands of someone who is skilled, unlike myself, this tool is going to be very useful, especially if you like to create digital artwork in something like Photoshop or Affinity. Right, let's just forget that ever happened. And we'll go back to layers. Now the next two, I never used these much in Photoshop and I'm probably not going to use them here. Color replacement tool. So I think you could pick a color and then replace it with another one. I just don't like this. It's destructively working. And there's just better ways to replace color. So I'm just going to ignore that one. And this one as well, if anyone's got a better explanation for these, please do let me and everyone know. The pixel tool, we can just draw 1 pixel lines. Maybe there's a use for that, but I don't know. Not something that's really interesting to me. Right, we have the erase brush tool. Now, if we do this on an image layer, what this does is automatically make a layer mask. So I do like that. If we do this on a pixel layer, it's just going to erase the image. So this is pretty much what you'd expect. Now we've got a couple of other eraser related features here. We have the background erase brush, and Photoshop does have something similar. So we could select a background and we could remove it. I don't really like this. You can play around with the settings to get a better result. So we could try it on the sky here. But again, we're working destructively. So we're permanently erasing the background. So maybe it's good in a pinch, but not something I would ever rely on for professional work. And then the flood erase tool. So this is kind of like a paint bucket tool, but it will just remove the background in one click. Again, maybe good in a pinch, not something I'm probably going to use though. Right, next along, we have the adjustment brush tool. So what we can do with this one is we can pick our adjustment up here. As you can see, we've got lots of adjustment layers that we'll be covering in a future video. So let's go with exposure for now. And by default, you can see it's darkening this area. We get that live preview, which is lovely. And we can hold down Command or Control for an alternative functionality, which is going to lighten the area. So by default, this darkens and then this lightens. So what we could do is we could let it just darken the area, brush, 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 and then it creates an adjustment layer and we can go and refine it further. So I feel like this tool is kind of like a springboard to just pick an adjustment layer, start brushing, and then you get your adjustment layer from that. And then once we've got it, we can go and refine it. And these adjustment layers will affect everything underneath them in the layers panel as well. Right, let's go and delete that. Or what we could do is hold Command or Control and we could go and lighten an area. There we go, that looks moderately awful. So let's go and undo that. But we can do the same with the different adjustment layers as well. So HSL, which stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. And if you're coming from Photoshop, this one may look familiar. So we can saturate part of an image more, basically make the colors richer. Or if we undo that and hold Command or Control, the alternative functionality is to desaturate part of an image. So that is a tool, probably not something I'm going to use personally. I'm used to using the brush tool more, and then you've got all of your adjustment layers down here anyway. Right, let's go back over here. Next, we have the burn brush tool. And I know we're giving this image a lot of attention. Don't worry, pancakes, we're coming to you. We're coming. So with the burn brush tool, this will darken an area of an image and kind of bring out the shadows more in many places. And then we have the dodge brush tool, which is kind of the opposite. This is going to brighten areas, and you can use this to boost highlights as well. Now, again, we are working destructively, which basically means what we're doing is permanently damaging or destroying the image. I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but there are better ways to dodge and burn with the flexibility to undo. So we will cover that again in another video as well. And then lastly for this section, we have the sponge brush tool. Now by default, slightly different to Photoshop, this will saturate an area of an image and it's very subtle. So if you want to desaturate with the sponge tool, I don't know, maybe you're a frequent sponge tool user. You've got desaturate there and a few other options. So we can just brush over, but again, we're working destructively. Right, let's undo everything we've just done because that is awful. Right, next up, we have the filter brush tool. Now, these are very exciting and function very, very similarly to the adjustment brush tool. Basically, we can pick an adjustment, lots to choose from. Let's go with glitch. And here we've got type. So we've got lots of different types. And we get this live preview as we move over. And in the top left corner, we have brush settings as well. So let's just go and brush in a glitch. There we go, fantastic. And you can see in the layers panel, we have a layer mask that gets added. And if we twizzle this down, we have our glitch effect there and we can click into it and change it. So we can adjust the glitch strength. And we'll maybe change it to slice. There we go, lots of different types. And I'm sure this is going to provide endless fun. So we'll be covering these filters in other videos as well. And we can delete it like so. And if you want to access more live filters without using the brush, you can find them all here. And as you can see, there are many. So yeah, have fun playing around with those. But next up, we've got the blur brush tool. Right, I think it's time we switch over to pancakes now. So let's select this image and we can just start blurring. You can see the assistant pops up just saying, hey, you're doing something a bit naughty. So we're going to rasterize this layer. So it's now a pixel layer and we can adjust the strength at the top. And then underneath we have sharpen, which will sharpen the edges and bring out some of the details and provide a bit more clarity. We now have the median brush tool. Not something I use very often, but a detailed description says this will selectively reduce noise by blending pixels under the stroke. So you can sometimes use this if you're retouching skin, but again, we're working destructively and we're going to lose some of the detail, and there are better ways to do that and have a bit more flexibility. Smudge brush tool. This can be very useful and can be fantastic for drawing hair and fur. So let's crank up the strength a bit. We'll bump it up to 75. And we can then smudge our little mint leaf on top. There you go. Now that is obviously completely useless, but the smudge tool in the right situation can be very useful indeed. Rightio. Now we've got the clone stamp tool. Again, this is another really useful one. What we can do is adjust the brush size using the left and right square brackets on the keyboard. And that's the same for any of these tools that have a brush of sorts. We can hold down Alt or Option and we can click to sample that area. And you can see with a crosshair, that is the sampled area. And I can now brush in. Oops, I got the wrong layer selected. Silly me. Let's select you. Alt or Option and click to sample the bush. And then we need to crank up our flow. Just make sure flow and opacity is at 100% unless you want something lower. And you can see with that live preview, we can brush more bush into the sky and have another hand and a head. There we go. Now, why would you want to do this? You clearly wouldn't want to do that, but this can be very useful if you wanted to just, let's say, just extend the bush a bit, or extend something or clone something out, whatever it is. Maybe I don't like these bits here and I could just kind of clone it over. And it does get quite quick to use. And obviously I'm doing a terrible job, but yeah, the clone tool can be very useful. Right. Undo brush tool. I tried to use this earlier. I couldn't get it to work. I'll figure it out and make a video. It said you need to use history states or something. I couldn't get it working. So I'm sure someone cleverer than me will let us all know how that works. Anyway, let's move on to something far more fun, the in-painting brush tool. Now, so far to me, this is very much like Photoshop's remove tool, which I flippin' love. So let's just say we wanted to remove her face. We can brush over that area. You can see it becomes highlighted, and now we have something. Let's just try it with the arm. Let's see how it handles that. Come on, let's throw it in at the deep end here. Arm be gone. That's not too bad. The results so far have been pretty good from my experience. Let's see what happens when we do it on the sky. Or the bush, rather. Is it going to leave us some sky? No, we get another face. Let's try it on the other image as well. And maybe we don't want this oozing, dripping caramel down here. Oh, that's a bit too much sugar for me. Let's get rid of it and see what it does. It's not too bad. Not too bad. A bit rough around here. But it's quick. I like how quick it is. So yeah, actually this bit here is rather awful. But yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes not so much. But at least it's there as an option if you want to give it a go. Right, the healing brush tool. Now this is another one that's very similar to Photoshop. So what we can do is, similarly to the clone brush tool, we can sample an area. So we could sample some skin. And we could then brush over that area. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer again. Silly me. My goodness. So we'll sample an area of skin and then we can brush this over. No, let's sample it again properly, Dan. What does it say in the description? Repair and retouch unsightly areas of an image. That's hilarious. And the clone brush tool brushes one part of an image onto another using sampling. Right, next we have the patch tool. Now this can be very useful, not something I use often. How does this one work? I think you select an area like this, and then you can drag. Whoops. Oh no, we've got an eye in her cheek. Hang on. Let's try again. Yeah, there we go. So we can select an area and then sample another area to go in it. So if we did want another eye, we could then click and resize it, I think. Whoa. Oh, steady on, Dan. This is getting weird. And then just click again. There we go. And it kind of sets that. My goodness, what have I done to these images? I'm so sorry. There we go. Get your arm back. Get rid of that extended bush. Goodness me. So yeah, again, a really useful tool for retouching. Right, we also have a couple more. The blemish removal tool. I'll cover this. I'm not going to really go into the red eye removal tool. It's just not something I've ever used, but I'm sure it does what it says on the tin. Blemish removal tool. Right, so let's just go and click and drag over this. Or, oh, I've got the wrong layer selected again. You flipping idiot. Right. So we can just quite literally, oh yeah, this is cool. So we can click and drag and then find an area that we like and then let go. This is really cool, actually. So if I wanted to remove this mole on her neck here, I can click and drag. And as I'm holding down, I can sort of scan different areas. So I can find an area that looks really good and blends seamlessly. And then when I let go, then it commits those changes. So we've got something on the arm here. Find a nice bit of arm to replace it. Boom, there we go. So that is really useful. I do like that one. Right, pen tool. Now we've covered this in another video, but it's basically very useful for drawing custom shapes. There we go, little work of art. Now the great thing about this is you can draw shapes and you can give them fill colors and all that good stuff. Or what you can do is click on mask, and this is going to mask the layer below. Or if we undo that, we can use this shape that we've created to make a selection. So this is how I use the pen tool predominantly in something like Photoshop. I use it more for creating masks and selections. But now in Affinity, I guess it's just all really interchangeable. You can use it for shapes, masks, selections, the lot. And we've also got the node tool down here. So if you want to edit all of your individual anchor points, we can just use the node tool to do that. Basically the equivalent of a direct selection tool. Right, we have lots of shape tools. Again, we've covered this in another video, but I'll just show you this briefly. So we could create a cog, and then we've got lots of options at the top, or we can grab the orange control points and we can adjust the different settings for our cog directly on the canvas, which is pretty cool. Oh, this is fantastic. This is so flipping cool. And then we could adjust the number of teeth up here, make it more cogalicious. And then we've got presets for the cog down here. There we go. Let's go with the radioactive symbol and then customize it, because why the heck not? So yeah, lots of tools down there, definitely worth playing around with. Right, we've got some text tools. We've got the artistic text tool, which is pretty much click, start typing. And then we can resize this. And this is great for any title text or headlines or text that you want effects on. And we've got loads of different properties at the top. And we can click up here for the character panel. I don't know why it's down there and really, really small. Let's bring you up here. I know there's lots of options hiding in there. Found you. So there's your character options, Command or Control T to hide and show that. And then we have the paragraph panel here. Why is it hiding down there? Come on, don't be shy. Let's bring out those options. There we go. As you can see, there are flipping loads, and there is a keyboard shortcut for that probably, but I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to click the X. But yeah, that is the artistic text tool. The equivalent is basically your point type text in something like Illustrator. And then we have the frame text tool where we can drag a box, right click, insert filler text, and then we can resize this. And you can see it wraps the text onto multiple lines. And if we go up here, we can click this and we have a window specifically with settings for a text frame. Right, let's get rid of those. Oh yeah, if this blue box hangs around for you, you see the blue box on the text frame, No matter what I select or deselect, that just stays there. If that drives you insane, like it did me, what you can do is go to View, down to Show, and then turn off this option here, Text Flow, and it just gets rid of that. When you click it again, you can see it, deselect everything, and it goes away. Right, we're nearly at the end. Color Picker tool. This is pretty straightforward. We can hover over an area of an image and we can see what color it is. Style Picker tool. So if you have a particular style, so colors, strokes, different properties on the selected layer, you can then click on another object to sample the same properties of the selected object. You've got the hand tool here. You can use H, but instead I prefer to use spacebar because it's just much quicker to access. And then at the very bottom, we have the zoom tool. The shortcut for that is Z or Z on the keyboard. And we can zoom in and out. And then at the very bottom, we have the color pickers. So we have the background color and we can press X to switch to the foreground color. And we can double click this and it brings up a color picker, very similar to Photoshop, with a drop down and a bunch of different sliders and things. And so yeah, those are all the tools that we can use in Affinity's new Pixel Studio.